Okay, welcome everybody. It is Talk Back. Nothing but talk back all of the time.
I thought we were going lounge singer first.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Interstellar.
I'm here all week. Hey, today is a very special day.
It's March 1st.
Yes, it is. And you know what that means?
It is Super Tuesday.
No, it is Peter and Lorna's 36th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that?
Just one day away from leap year.
Yeah, how about that? Can you imagine if we got married?
It's probably felt like that for Lorna.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyway, so happy anniversary to my beloved. She is hard at work. Actually, no, she has the day off today, so really? Maybe she's just got her ear glued to the radio. Will he mention it? Will he forget? Hope he doesn't forget.
She's probably sitting at home with a prepared table and everything, and he's working again.
Yeah. Anyway, so there you go. So happy anniversary to my beloved, and 36 years with the most wonderful woman in the world, and she's great. So there you go.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It is very awesome to see people married for a long time these days.
Yes.
It's a rarer and rarer occurrence.
This is true, because no one else will have me. That's great.
They're just a little, difficult to live with, if you know what I mean.
Sure. So anyway, aside from that, lots going on. It is Super Tuesday. We have, Trump and Clinton. They say will be able to wrap things up today. That this will be it.
Who says?
Many of the pundits are saying if Trump can sweep and Hillary can sweep, then there's nothing stopping them, nothing standing in their way for them getting the nomination.
Well,
so is that true or not?
If either of them sweep, I guess so.
Okay.
I don't think anyone's expecting Trump to sweep everything today because it's all percentage delegates, right?
Right.
A real sweep would be that. Let me give you a quick scenario. So, for example, Texas. If you get more than 50% of the total vote, you get all of the delegates from Texas.
Wow.
That's a true sweep, okay? But if you get below that, then the delegates are handed out proportionally.
Yeah, they carve them up, right?
Right. That's far more likely.
Okay.
Okay, for anybody. And actually, Cruz is predicted, I think, still at this point to win Texas. So an overall sweep is very unlikely.
But he probably won't get more than 51% in Texas.
It's unlikely, but it's possible.
Yeah. Okay.
So in all those scenarios, you have proportional delegates. So it's going to get, if there isn't a sweep, it's more than likely to go to a convention.
Now, from what I understand, is Florida the only major state with a winner-take-all deal, or what?
Well, a lot of states have these break rules where if you reach a certain percentage, then it's winner-take-all.
Okay, all right.
But winner-take-alls are not allowed until after May 16th, I want to say.
Okay.
According to the party rules. So only your later states are going to have that opportunity anyway. Most of them are going to be proportional.
Okay. So, what is your estimation, oh great political guru, as to what's going to happen today?
I have no idea. I've actually become really despondent with people voting for Trump. I really don't understand it. I really do. I think he's an evil person. It sickens me watching people like this guy.
Well, here's the deal. I've thought about this a lot, and trying to step back. Sometimes it's difficult to step back out of yourself and just look at how things seem to be. Okay, it just seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, and our wise and wonderful listeners, I'm sure you will. 721-1290, by the way. As I look back, it just seems like there has been so much pent up anger. First we had the capital G, capital R Great Recession. We had President Obama winning 2 terms. We had Obamacare being pushed through in the middle of the night with not a single Republican vote. We had an entire, I think, 2 election cycles of Republicans promising that the first thing they were going to do when they got elected was they were going to eliminate Obamacare. We're going to defund it. We're going to get rid of it. Never happened. And
because they couldn't. They overpromised.
I know, but see, when you promise people things and then you don't deliver on them, people get angry. And I believe it is the anger of a vast majority of people, and not just Republicans. I think there's a whole bunch of average folks who don't consider themselves Republicans or Democrats or independents. They're just people who are really angry with the federal government right now. And when they see somebody like Donald Trump as an outsider coming in to basically, like, coming in with the cat o' nine tails and clearing all the money changers out of the temple. You know what I mean? That's how they see this guy. That he's going to come in.
The money changer.
He's going to come in and clean the place up. That's how they see him.
I get that people see him that way.
But whether or not that's true, okay, the perception, I believe, is there. And so I think that is a lot of his draw, is that he's not afraid to turn over the tables in the temple, if you will. And he's not afraid to take a whip after these folks and say things and do things that would outrage anybody else.
This guy's basically running on a rewrite of the Alien and Sedition laws.
All right, 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. However you take Donald Trump, for or against, hate or love or whatever,
Thanks for calling KGVO.
he is quite literally poised on the precipice of being the Republican nominee for the presidency, and quite probably will run against one of the quintessential establishment personages in American history, which would be Hillary Clinton. She was the First Lady. She was a senator from New York. She has been the Secretary of State. She has been deeply, deeply embedded into the heart of Washington, okay? And so you have two polar opposites here. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Here's the problem I have for conservatives that like Trump.
All right.
I understand not liking Washington, not liking the bureaucracy, but the things that Trump is fighting for and against, I should say, are the very foundations not of Washington, but of America, the U.S. Constitution, the freedom of speech. He wants to go after the press. He wants to break down your liberties. That's not a conservative point of view.
So he wants to sue people who insult him.
Yes. He wants to tear down some of the barriers that we have between ourselves and government. Make it easier for government to come into our lives. That's frightening. That's Democrat stuff.
That's
people that want to break down the walls for free speech are usually running on the Democratic ticket and are trying to do so in the name of campaign finance reform.
Right. In some ways, it could be construed as fascism. So,
well,
anyway.
El Duce himself has tweeted out as much.
Tell you what, we're up against a break. So, John, if you'll hang on, we'll get you on in just a minute. We have two lines open. It's 721-1290. What do you think? I mean, are you angry enough at what's going on in Washington to just throw your vote at Donald Trump and say, do your thing, man?
I will say one of our callers called in and said, he's Samson. He's tearing down the foundations. And I said, if he's Samson, he's an anti-Samson. He's not tearing down the foundations of something evil. He's tearing down the foundations of something
So
good.
would that make Hillary Delilah? So they carry this biblical thing a little bit too far. Okay, we'll be right back in a moment. Okay, welcome back to Talkback. And what do you know? All three of our lines are full. So, yeah.
I had a video that I wanted to play today, but both of my computers weren't working, so it's really hard to load audio.
Okay.
But I think it does say something about the state of our politics and how it's affecting our children. It was a basketball tournament.
Really?
And two Catholic schools, I believe in Indiana, were playing against each other.
Right.
One was more predominantly Latino, and the other was more predominantly white, and I guess African American, from what I could tell from the crowd. Anyway, the Latin American team, where the high school team was saying "Si se puede," which is "Yes, we can."
Oh, okay.
The other side was saying, "Build a wall," and they had pictures of Donald Trump's face.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding!
I'm not kidding.
Wow.
And they were chanting these things during the match. And they had also had a big sign that said ESPN Sports, but they changed it to Deportes, ESPN Deportes. And
well, Deportes is Spanish for sports.
For sports,
yeah,
right.
But
if you saw the sign, they blacked the letters for deport in bold.
Ah, okay.
So it was
Wow. Okay, let's get our callers on. John, thank you for holding, sir. You're on Talkback.
Oh, boy, about Trump. That last Samson comment is tempting, but I'm going to stick with my comment from yesterday. Peter, you compared Trump to Forrest Gump, and I wondered if you really thought about that very much.
Well, you never know what you're going to get. That's the problem, see.
Oh, okay. Well, that fits. But if you think about the movie, do you remember the scene where Forrest Gump is given given the recount of his experiences in the military?
Yes.
And he's on the podium,
Right.
and they unplug his microphone because
Right.
he's telling too much of the truth.
Right.
And so I don't know if Forrest Gump was necessarily a bad character. I think he told the truth. And
I think you're right. Forrest Gump is a pretty well. First of all, he was honest, earnest,
yeah.
forthright. All the things that Trump isn't.
So I'm going to finish my comment and ignore yours.
Go ahead, John.
So I was talking about Peter's comparison, and embarrassed as the establishment may be, I think that a lot of this anger toward Trump is out of the idea that he is unsophisticated, as is the character in Forrest Gump. So I say, run, Donald, run.
Now, John, I want to ask you something, John.
As to you, okay, go ahead.
One of the problems I see that let's say he is elected president, okay?
Yes.
He will be universally hated and despised by both parties when he gets there. So will he have to be an imperial president? In other words, will he have to govern with a pen and an executive order exactly the way President Obama is doing now, that's receiving severe criticism simply because he won't be able to get the Republicans, because they don't like him, and he won't be able to get the Democrats who don't like him to work with him to make things go?
Yeah, well, my question is, who's saying he's hated and despised?
Well, the polls are. The public is.
Everybody.
The public is not. The public are behind him
No,
for the most part.
only
The establishment
25%.
media.
Real quick. Only about 25% of those in the Republican Party, a max around 40% of those in the Republican Party, are in support of him. There's nobody really on the left.
Well, in my humble opinion,
He's the lowest by 5-1. 5-1 likability factor in polling. 5-1. Despise Trump versus like Trump.
I don't know where you got your poll, but
I will pull it up for you.
I know that he's polling really well in the people, and I, for one, support him because he is against the establishment media, and you're talking about him being fascist. That's quite an accusation.
Well,
I sure hope you can back it up with some evidence,
you.
John, because I have not heard of any late...
John did not use the word fascist. I
He
used
did
the word...
compare him to fascist. He said, that's fascist.
No. Trump compared himself to fascists. I will play you the clip. Would you please play the clip from Mussolini?
Okay, all right.
And by the way, Trump has praised Vladimir Putin. Trump has praised...
As do I. He's leading his people as a sovereign nation.
The guy
unlike our
assassinates
current
journalists.
president.
He assassinates journalists.
Okay, well,
Why are you
could make
praising
the same
him?
case about our government assassinating its own president. So, how far do you want to go with this,
Wait,
John?
well, I did not make the case
The
about
point
it.
is you're upset with Trump, as I am with other candidates.
Okay,
So,
well, let's talk about the reasons
think he's
behind that. I'm
unsophisticated?
upset with
Fine.
Trump. I'm upset with
He's-
Trump because I think he's going to hurt the Constitution and the things this country stands for. For example, freedom of speech. He wants to change our libel laws, make
You
it
know who-
easier for us to get sued in the media.
how come you're not that angry at the media right now, at the Fox Newses and the corporations that are controlling our media? How come you're not that angry about that?
Well, actually, I wanted to correct you. It was I that actually used the word fascist because when someone tries to control your speech, that is something that fascists do.
Oh, yes,
I'll tell you
I
why
read
I'm
the
not that
whole-
upset with the media, because the media has many different ways to get its point across. I have never been called to task for anything I've said except for by the listeners on this show.
Okay.
No one over my head says you can't talk about this issue or that issue. We have a lot of freedom of speech, and we should cherish that. It's what built this country, not try to tear it down with Trumpism.
I don't think he's trying to tear it down. And by the way,
He's declared it. I can play the cut. I played it yesterday.
Go ahead, John.
If you want to ignore the facts and support Trump, go ahead, but realize you're ignoring the facts and supporting a guy that is hurting your country.
He's not. He's running for office, and you can ignore the facts too, John. And I will look it up.
Well, tell me a
because,
fact.
John. I read Jonah Goldberg's book on fascism, the secret history of an American left from Mussolini to the politics of meaning. So don't tell me I don't know about fascism. I read the book.
Okay. Well,
Have you read it?
no, I haven't. I didn't
Okay,
say you don't know anything about fascism. I was just
Okay.
trying to point out the points
Well, I'm
where
not
Trump
ignoring
is
the
comparing
facts
himself
either.
to one.
I'm not going to ignore the facts either. And I suggest you take some of your own advice.
Okay, tell you what, we're up against a break. We appreciate your call. Thank you. And tell you what, let's go ahead and play that cut It's a minute long. I think we have a time to do this. This is Trump and the Mussolini tweet.
Yeah, this
right?
is the tweet.
Okay,
He retweeted Mussolini.
So here we go.
By the way,
It was a
real quick.
Mussolini quote, but you
go
didn't
ahead,
know it
go
was
ahead,
Mussolini when you retweeted. It said, "It is better."
Go ahead.
Okay. Imagine if this was not Mussolini was a fascist. He
Right.
inspired Hitler. We fought against him in World War II. He
Right.
was an evil man.
Right.
If this had been a more recognizable evil man, if this had been Adolf Hitler, can you imagine the same defense from Donald Trump?
Okay, here we go.
It was a Mussolini quote, but you didn't know it was Mussolini when you retweeted. It said, "It is better to live one day as a lion than 100 years as a sheep." That's a famous Mussolini quote. You retweeted it. Do you like the quote? Did you know it was
Sure.
Mussolini?
It's okay to know it's Mussolini. Look, Mussolini was Mussolini. It's okay to.
He almost
it's
said,
a
"I
very
love
good
Mussolini."
quote. It's a very interesting quote, and I know it. I saw it. I saw what. And I know who said it. But what difference does it make whether it's Mussolini or somebody else? It's certainly a very interesting quote.
Well,
That's probably why I have
Mussolini is a
between
known
Facebook
fascist.
and Twitter 14 million people,
Do you
and
wanna
other
be
people don't.
do you want to
It's
be
a very
associated?
interesting quote, and people can talk about it.
Do you want to be associated with a fascist?
No, I want to be associated with interesting quotes. And people, I have almost 14 million people between Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all of that.
Right.
And we do interesting things. And I sent it out. And certainly, hey, it got your attention, didn't it?
Well, and it is trending on Twitter right now, Mr. Trump. I have to leave it there.
Okay, so with that, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. Let's get back to the phones. And we have a very, very short time because we went long on that last segment. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to apologize to our last caller if I was a little harsh. I get heated on this one.
He doesn't like Trump. Sorry.
Carl,
Carl, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Hi, the problem I'd have if I had to place a vote today is my favorite candidates of all the candidates. My first choice, if I was to say who is going to be the best leader, my first choice would be Cruz. Second would probably be Ben Carson. Third would be Trump. The problem is if I voted for Cruz today, I don't think he can win a general election. But Trump, because of the anti-vote out there's a lot of anti-Democrats as well as anti-establishment Republicans. I think Trump would actually win in a pretty big landslide overall because he's going to pull a lot of Democrats that Cruz is unable to pull.
Yeah, it's interesting. The dynamic I don't think has ever existed before in American politics. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think you're right on Cruz. I think Cruz would have a tough time winning in a general election. I think Trump even more so, though.
This is about Trump is he can pull the anti-establishment vote, kind of like Reagan did with the Reagan Democrats, the people that were upset. I think Trump appeals to those people.
Well, let me say this too. I think that Cruz has negatives, Trump has negatives when it comes to a general election campaign, but Trump has many, many more, and they keep coming. And not only that, he's never been vetted for an election before. Cruz has been hit really hard.
On the Democrat side, they don't have an anti-establishment because you can't really take Bernie Sanders seriously as an anti-establishment. His whole life has been in politics.
And Carl, I hate to do this to you. We're out of time. We have a hard break to hit.
I appreciate your time. You guys have a great day.
Hey, thanks for the call. These are great calls, and so
if Bloomberg gets in the race, even Cruz has a chance.
Okay. All right, BJ, if you mind holding, we'll get you on after the top of the hour. We will be right back, so stay with us. Okay, we are back on Talkback. So, wow, interesting conversation in the last half hour.
Yeah, and sometime during this show, I do want to talk about enrollment at the University of Montana, although it may not have been news to you. It's something I've been watching for a while now. The last week of February, usually we get a report from the UM about enrollment, spring enrollment, right?
Yeah.
And if it's a good report, we get it towards the middle of February. And if it's a bad report, we get it at the end of February. But we always get a report, and they come out and they talk about what they're doing, they're changing, how things have been affected. Well, this year, there was no report. They slipped the numbers in on the back end of the website, and I was just kind of surprised. I'd been asking for quite a few days when they're going to issue the report. I never got a word back. Finally, they're like, oh, it's up. It's been released. Oh, really? Well, where is it? And then they showed me, the catacombs that they hid it in. I went and found it, and it's not good news, I don't think, for the University of Montana. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the big key here, I think, the big takeaway, it's year over year from last year, nearly a 0.25% or a 25% drop in freshman enrollment at UN.
It's tough news. But there are folks on the line that want to talk about all sorts of things. So let's be faithful to our callers first. DJ, is it BJ or DJ?
DJ.
DJ, please go ahead, sir. And thank you for holding, by the way. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I'm a Ted Cruz supporter, but I'm listening to you guys, and it looks like Donald Trump is going to be the candidate. And what the problem is yes, I agree with some of the things you say about Donald Trump, but the problem is that everybody talks bad about Donald Trump. Why don't once in a while you point out some of the good things this man is doing and has done?
What do you think would be at the top of that list?
Hey, he's the only guy that's out there as a candidate, and I was going to support him except for all his rhetoric stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only candidate that has provided a heck of a lot of jobs and has built a private industry for himself and has proven that he can do that.
So you would vote for him for president simply because of his past as a millionaire?
Well, hey, who built it? Did the government?
No, his dad did. His dad handed him $2 million when he was born. I mean,
okay.
You start off with different stages in life, right?
Let him, go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, but okay, he started out with $2 million, granted. But what's the difference about me going down and buying around $500,000 to start my business, and I paid that $500,000 back, and I've made a heck of a lot more? He's borrowed $2 million and turned it into $10 billion. The man has proven that he can actually do a job.
Well,
These other guys, other candidates haven't proven. What have they done? All they do is talk.
In a way, DJ, if I just play devil's advocate for just a second here, Donald Trump is kind of a quintessential true American story. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Here's a guy who went bankrupt several times. He lost everything several times, built it back up, took enormous risks. Did all sorts of things, and is now incredibly financially successful. Now, whether you like him or hate him for that is something that is an appeal to many of the people who believe in him.
But I think the true American story is a rags to riches story, not a riches to a horrible business investment default to bankruptcy to litigation to riches to litigation to riches story.
Okay, well, DJ, go ahead.
Well, you can say that, but what has the other candidates done? You take Marco Rubio. Where was he when Ted Cruz stood up in front of the Senate and tried to get rid of Obamacare?
Well, he voted
Marco
with Ted
Rubio
Cruz
didn't stand up at all.
He voted with Ted Cruz on that, by the way. But when it comes to Ted Cruz, Ted Cruz fought. Sorry,
did he stand up there? No.
I don't know if he. Well, it was a filibuster.
Yeah, there was only two others. There was only two other senators that did that.
That held the podium while he went to pee. I get it. I mean, but it's supposed to be Cruz.
But
he's filibustering. But real quick, when you said, well, first of all, I thought the whole shenanigans, and one of the things Peter pointed out earlier is that they promised they were going to do this. They were never going to do it. Even if Ted Cruz was successful, it wouldn't have defunded Obamacare. I thought that whole platform was built on a lie from the beginning. I wouldn't have been a part of it myself. But when it comes to what have they really done, if you want to take Cruz, he's not my favorite candidate, but I think you've got a lot of things you could say. First of all, he understands the Constitution. He's fought for the Constitution. He went to school. Really, both Cruz and Rubio are the true American story here. They start off in poverty. Cruz's dad is a missionary, for crying out loud. They don't make a ton of money unless they're televangelists, which I don't believe he is. Rubio's dad used to run a bar, and neither of them came from wealth. They both went to university. They both became successful. They both climbed to the highest echelon of the United States government on their own wit and wisdom. Now, whether or not you disagree or agree with them on everything, their path in life was difficult. Trump was handed millions of dollars, said, go be a successful man.
Go ahead, DJ.
Oh, I agree with you on that part of it. But also I disagree with you on what you said about Trump, because I'll tell you what, earning the money is the easier part. Keeping the money is the hardest part. Our government earns trillions of dollars. And do they keep any of it? No. That's why we've got a $19 trillion deficit. We've got people in Washington, D.C. that do not know how to take care of money. All they know how to do is spend it.
Okay,
Donald Trump Donald Trump at least has actually showed that he can take care of it.
Okay, DJ, I hate to do this to you. We're up against a break. We appreciate you being on with us. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, we appreciate your comments. Steve and Kay, and we do have a line open, by the way, 721-1290. Actually, Kay is standing by. So 721-1290, we'll be right back. Stay with us. Okay, we're back. That's what happens when I'm trying to do 5 things at once. All right.
Well, let's get patient Kay on.
Yes, absolutely. Kay, you've been waiting a long time. Thank you so much. What's on your mind?
This is Kerry.
Oh, Kerry. I am sorry, Kerry. Please go ahead.
That's all right. Well, just a couple comments on Trump. First one, this is not an original comment, but I was just listening to your last caller. Wall Street Journal did an article comparing Buffett and Trump, who started off roughly the same amount of funds, and they're roughly the same age.
Okay.
And Buffett is worth like 10 times what Trump is. So if you want to look at a real businessman, there you go. They said actually, and I don't know, you can go look at the article, that if Trump had just stuck his seed money into a mutual fund back then when he first started, he'd be worth roughly twice what he is now. So I don't know how great a businessman
It's a really good point, and it was actually the next point I was going to make too. Fortune magazine looked at this, and this is what they say. Trump's net worth has grown about 300% to an estimated $4 billion since 1987, according to a report by the Associated Press. But the real estate mogul would have made even more money if he had just invested in index funds. The AP says that if Trump had invested in an index fund in 1988, his net worth would be as much as $13 billion. By the way, we don't really know what Trump actually has.
I was just going to say that. How do we know what he really has? I heard another article this morning. I don't know what's true or not. That's a problem. But I heard another article this morning that says they don't think he's worth near what he says he is, and that's why he doesn't want to release his taxes, because he may just be a really good self-promoter and not be as good as he actually says he is. But that's not my comment. If I could just real quick get into my comment, I cannot reconcile the difference. And John, you and I don't agree on everything, but I cannot reconcile the difference here on how you can support Cruz and then sit back and say you can support Trump. I don't understand that. How can you support Cruz, who is a constitutional conservative, and stand on principle and then say, well, my second choice is Trump, a man who has no principles. And I'm not trying to be mean, and Trump guys, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus or be mean to you. I need you to look at his past. He doesn't have a set of core principles. Matter of fact, if you actually listen to his speeches and not just go, rah, rah, he's giving them the business, if you listen to what he's saying, much of what he says is absolutely against the core principles of our Constitution. He's talking about going after the press. He's talking about going after the First Amendment. When's the next amendment? If those don't matter to him, if those core principles don't matter to him, I know you think he can get things done, but what is he going to get done? And that's the hardest thing I have. And I will tell you, I plugged my nose and voted for McCain. I plugged my nose and voted for Romney, guys who I think campaign slogan should have been, I will sell your freedoms and liberty just slower than a Democrat will. I plugged my nose and voted for those guys. But I will not vote for Trump because I think he's more dangerous.
All right,
I think he can be an absolute dictator, and it's a scary, scary thing. And you want something done, make sure you know what's going to be done.
All right, Kerry, thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. All right, thanks for your passion.
I'm not alone.
All right, and line one is right. Well, we're getting lots of calls. Let's get right back to it. Mike, you are on Talkback. Thank you for holding. Go ahead.
Yeah, somebody just said, Trump should have invested in mutual funds. Yeah, well, the wife wound up with some money, and they said, invest them in mutual funds. Within 30 days, I've lost $10,000 on it. That was one hell of an investment. I should have dug a hole in the backyard. I'd have been way further ahead. I'd be 10,000 richer than I am right now. So seriously, don't try this investment stuff unless you really know what you're doing. And everybody said this, but I will give you my take on Rubio. He's so dadgum cute, I often want to change his diapers. And the other one is, and this is Cruz. He was on Fox, and the second thing he mentioned, and that's all I need to know about Cruz, is what was the second most important thing he mentioned on the deal that they gave him on Fox last night? I am going to go after Planned Parenthood. That is a major concern, our major problem in this country, that you're going after Planned Parenthood. And as far as Trump goes, I'm in with Trump 100% because I talk his language the same as he does, and we're pretty darn good on that. So, but anyway, be careful when you invest your money in these people. All these experts tell you how to invest your money. Yeah, hell, I might as well gave it to somebody down the street. I'd have been further ahead.
All right, Mike. Thanks for thanks for the call. Go ahead, John. What do you got?
So Mitchell says, like Glenn Beck, John is suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. Randy says, everyone is outraged, as they should be, that Trump hedged on whether David Duke should have been immediately disavowed or not. Just as scary, though, was open support of this guy who Trump sought out, who is just as hateful as any Klan grand wizard, in my opinion. Here's a few of his past quotes. Quote, the viewer wanted to know how to address images of same-sex couples on social media, such as Facebook. Robertson said, you've got a couple of same-sex guys kissing. Do you like that? Well, that makes me want to throw up, he says. I think he's talking about...
Is he talking about Trump?
No, Robertson, I think, is a Trump supporter, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have enough context, and the post is too long. Sorry, Randy.
Okay. Let's move along, and let's see. This is Jay. Hi, Jay.
Hi.
Hey, what's on your mind, sir?
My personal feeling about Trump is, he's shown himself pretty well, and he acts as a narcissistic person as Obama, and he's pretty much a pervert like Bill Clinton. Already told everybody that he's basically a socialist Marxist like Sanders, and he's as much of a vengeful, hateful person as Hillary Clinton.
So basically, is he a conglomerate of all the political figures in the last 20 years, or what?
I think he's a screwed up mess.
Okay. Well, thanks for the call. Okay, so...
It is the problem with always changing your story. I think the last caller, I think it was Craig or two callers ago, or Carrie, sorry, or Kay, what we originally called you.
It was Carrie,
yeah. I think you made a good point. He doesn't seem to have core principles. He's been against the assault weapons ban. He's been for the assault weapons ban. He's been against Planned Parenthood. Now he's for it or against it. I don't know. He's changed his story. He's been for immigration reform. He's been against immigration. By the way, he's funded 5 of the senators on the Gang of 8 bill that he's been riling against, right? He sent the money. He's been against David Duke in the past. He's tacitly denied and then more fiercely denied David Duke's support. I mean, the guy is all over the place.
So he's a chameleon in your opinion?
He really, I think he's a praise seeker.
Okay. So we're up against a break. Bill, if you don't mind hanging on, and you grab line 2, please. We have one line open. So this is an interesting conversation because Donald Trump is truly a polarizing figure. You either absolutely love him or you absolutely hate him. I don't think there's anybody in the middle when it comes to Donald Trump. We'll be right back. Well, one good thing about Donald Trump, and even John can agree with this. Mention Donald Trump, and all of a sudden the phones light up. So for talk show hosts, he's golden. All right, anyway, he's rolling his eyes.
He's a gold Sharpie. By the way, I should mention that it's a news story that I didn't realize.
Okay.
But remember we played that clip yesterday, and I was a little upset with Rubio making fun of Trump's small hands.
Right.
What I didn't realize is I thought that was just a manhood joke. Right? Well, it actually has some history. The editor of Spy magazine once called Donald Trump a small-handed vulgarian. This is like 25 years ago. And he wrote an article that appeared, I forget the publication that it appeared in, but he says he's still, to this day.
Did you say vulgarian?
Vulgarian.
Vulgarian, not Bulgarian, but
not
Bulgarian.
Okay, Vulgarian.
Okay, all right.
But he said, the author of this said to this day, because he made that joke about Trump's hands being small,
right,
that he still gets mail, photos of Trump in magazine pictures and stuff with his hands circled in gold Sharpie, trying to highlight that he doesn't have deformed or strange hands. Like, this is a thin-skinned guy.
Okay, let's get Bill on the line. Bill, thank you so much for holding, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, first, I guess maybe Costanza on Steinfeld might have been one of those guys, too.
You've never heard of shrinkage? Yeah.
So here's what I have.
Okay.
I'm old enough to have voted in elections past where people talk about good and bad presidents, and I want to tell you, I remember two candidates in my time. I remember George McGovern and Ronald Reagan.
Right.
Both were more or less not liked as much by members of their party as the mainstream guys were, Muskie and some of the others, and Jerry Ford and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Both had opposite results. So Reagan was really criticized a lot. I remember he wasn't Republican enough. He was old and doddering. He was just out of it. He needed other people to talk for him. But, as it turned out, he won in a landslide.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something about Donald Trump. He has something that no other candidate has. He has the middle of America, the quiet people, the ones that don't talk very often about politics. He has the working guys. He has some of the minorities, too. And I think if he is nominated, I think he potentially could win in a landslide.
All right, I was just going to mention that you mentioned George McGovern, and this is just as an aside, okay? I was never much of a McGovern fan until later in his life when he was living in the Bitterroot. He lived in the Stevensville area. And
he had a bookstore down there.
Yeah, and I interviewed him. And a kinder, more thoughtful, more he was just a really nice person to interview, especially since he's been interviewed by the best. I mean, he was a presidential candidate, for crying out loud, and a senator, and he was kind to this. At that time, I was just starting out in doing interviews with famous people, and he was as kind and as accommodating as he could be. And I was really impressed with George McGovern when I got done with that call.
And it's
all politics
sad
aside.
Not always the best guy wins, unfortunately, and I'm not saying he was the best guy then. But you can look at other people like Barry Goldwater. He lost terribly, and he was very conservative. So I think it's mainstream America that this is what they say, a little right of center, and I think you have to be on one side or another side of an issue at different times to be a little right of center. And I still think you have to be principled, but you got to give him. If you think about why would Trump work, I know John disagrees. He inherited his business and he made it better, but I think it takes a lot of talent to run a business and keep it going in today's world. Secondly, you say deals. Well, you got to negotiate with good and bad owners and city people and everything else to get a project done. He's a negotiator. And leadership, I mean, he was unpopular. He was, he was a TV star and he had high ratings. He's not perfect. There's no one out there that's perfect. There's no one that would ever qualify as a perfect person for anybody. But I think you should be very careful about saying too many bad things about him, because you're making a lot of people mad when you do that.
And you might get sued, John.
Yep.
Well, look, I'm not saying anything that I don't have evidence for.
Well, that's all right, John. But
I mean,
remember
I'm not. I don't look. I just want.
When you insult a candidate, you're insulting people that are going for it.
I don't want to insult the candidate. Other than that, I want to point out that the candidate's fundamental beliefs are not conservative and anti-constitutional.
You don't know all his heart. You don't.
Do you?
No, I don't.
No, you don't.
But
we only know what he
enough,
says,
I know
right?
enough that I would listen. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk.
Actually, we do know a little bit about his heart. This is a guy who says he's never asked for forgiveness. He said it, not me.
Okay.
That's a guy who is God in his own mind.
Well, that's your opinion, and I think, if you want to make it a religious test, then you would probably not vote for him, okay?
Look, even if it's not a religion thing, I mean, just flat out. If you've never made a mistake and you can't admit that you've ever made a mistake, that's a learning problem.
I would say there's many people, including the present president, who very seldom makes mea culpa on anything. So,
well, if you're comparing him to the current president, which I have big problems with too, I think that's a great comparison. I think they would both be failed in many of the same ways. They're both strong executives that don't have the ability to gather strength.
You've got the bully pulpit
legislature
up there, and you're using it. So you're doing what you think you should be doing, and I commend you for what you stand for. I'm not going to say you don't have a right for those beliefs, but I really believe there's an awful lot of people out there that really haven't made up their mind. They're waiting to see. I know that if we continue on with the same type of policy, have a Barack Obama too, and that's what one of the candidates said they would be, I think it would be a terrible, terrible time in our country.
Hey, Bill, you have made some good points, but we're up against a break, and we appreciate your call, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate you being with us. Marilyn and Candy are both waiting to visit, and whoop, there goes the other line. It's like I say, we love Donald Trump, if only because we get lots of calls. Anyway, for a talk show, that's, like red meat. So we're coming right back in just a moment.
Sure, we'll get you on shortly.
Oh, yeah. 721-1290 is the number, 1-800-568-5309. Talking politics all this morning long. We're trying to guide the conversation elsewhere, but when it's caller-driven on open phones, that's just what we do. So, all right, Marilyn, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Good morning. Okay, I've been trying to figure out why Ted Cruz is so hated by the establishment, and I know why. He has stood up to them consistently, but something specific kept coming to my mind too, and so this may be it. He has come out and said that he wants a flat tax and he wants to abolish the IRS. Now, the establishment would absolutely not want that because that is where their power comes from, is taxes. And I think that's a big, huge part of it. I mean, nobody has been able to talk about abolishing our progressive income tax system and get anywhere with it. And Ted Cruz that's been one of his major number one things that he wants to do. And I don't understand why the American people aren't saying, yay, finally, somebody that could actually do that.
Well, I think that, there's a bunch of people that you might categorize as establishment, but I'll tell you the biggest problem that I had with Ted Cruz, and I actually like the tax plan, I think my biggest problem with him is I felt like he misled the American people in that shutdown vote. I think he overpromised and undersold on that. I thought it was a big tactical mistake that hurt his party and himself.
Well, the problem with all that is that he was the one guy that went in to fulfill his promise to the people who had voted for him, and the rest of the people in the Congress were just show votes. They were just saying what people wanted them to hear while they were campaigning. They didn't really mean it because that's where they get their power from, is all the new agencies that have been formed and all the new power and all the new taxes.
And
the
I think that
Obamacare bill, they didn't want to overturn it.
And I think for people that thought the shutdown was a good idea, there's no reason why I would have a problem. I mean, Ted Cruz, he went down that path and he championed that path. I think he's vastly preferable to Trump. I've had a few problems with some of the things he said, like make the sand glow, for example, as a military policy. But other than some of those little twerks that happen every once in a while in a campaign, I mean, he's been very true to his fundamental roots and his constitutional interpretation.
Yeah, and I always find it interesting too how voters will always say, "Oh, we don't like the negative campaign. We don't like the negative campaign."
But we eat it up with a spoon, don't we?
Yeah, and exactly, and it does work. And Ted Cruz hasn't gone there, and the media and the people that are against him have lied to say that he has gone there, and he hasn't.
Maryland, he had to fire his chief of one of his chief of staff, his communications major.
Yeah, that was the guy he fired.
Right.
Ted Cruz didn't do that.
But you know why he had to fire him, right?
About it.
Well, he found out about it after
and the
third
plays up that kind of stuff and downplays what Ted really stands for and what he's really done in his past and how consistent he is. We don't hear that unless we really go out and seek it. And, I've been...
So you don't think that he knew those publications were going out? The ones that say, I'm Ted Cruz and I endorse this, or I support this?
I don't know which one you're speaking about now.
Well, okay, there's a number of ones that came from his campaign, right? Like the fake voter turnout one, the one with Marco Rubio shaking President Obama's hand that was photoshopped, and
I haven't seen those, so I don't know. The media likes to make up a lot of things.
Well, no, this is Ted Cruz admitted it and fired his communications advisor.
Well, he did fire that guy. Yeah, that was on when Marco Rubio supposedly walked by the table and somebody was reading.
Yeah, that was the last straw because they had backup video. What if they didn't have that backup video?
Hey, Marilyn, I want to get one more call on before the break. Thank you. Candy, you're on Talkback. Hi.
Yes, I want to go to the Sampsons thing. Everybody was against Sampson, and he did bring down the establishment of his time. He cried out to God to give him the strength to do it. And
after he was seduced by Delilah.
After
he was seduced by Delilah.
Yes, of course. But he brought down the establishment of that day. And also, Trump has called to audit the Fed. He's standing behind that. And you never talk about all the things that he's done for people that have been good, and every employee that he has on the job benefits in some way or another by having a job. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks for the call. And with that, we're up against a break. Sue and Catherine, I'm so sorry to keep you waiting. We've got to take this quick break. We'll be right back. And the lines just keep on a-humming. So we'll be back with more of Talkback in a moment. All right, this is Talkback. 721-1290 is the number. And our good friend Sue has been waiting so patiently for so long. Sue, I'm sorry about the wait. Please go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. I just, the last caller, a few callers back, who was talking about Donald Trump, I guess the thing that I have concerns is that he never talks about policy issues or what he just goes on rants.
Only in the most general of terms, right? Yeah. Like, I'm going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it.
Well, and it just got 10 feet higher, so the bill's going up.
Well, and this morning, apparently, he had a off-the-record interview with the New York Times, and
so, this is something that apparently happened before. I actually was going to load the clip. Ted Cruz is really pushing this. Of course, it's Super Tuesday, so all shenanigans are out, right? But here's Ted Cruz's case. He says he has heard, other people have heard, that it's been leaked from the New York Times. They have an interview with Donald Trump where he admits that the whole thing with the wall and his immigration policy is a sham, that he never really planned on doing any of it. And that this video, they're calling it a secret video, was taped off the record. And New York Times says they won't release the video unless Donald Trump gives them the okay to, because it was supposed to be off the record. And so Ted Cruz says, well, Donald Trump, if this video doesn't exist, then you should tell him to release the video so you can prove that you weren't misleading the American people. Give them the okay to release the video. It's either that way or you're lying to them now. And so that's kind of the game that Cruz is playing with it. Would anybody be absolutely shocked if Donald Trump said two things that were totally opposite? No. Even his supporters, I think, realize that the guy double speaks.
Well, if you remember, Sue, and I'm sure you do remember this, when he first entered the campaign, people were criticizing him because he donated to Hillary in the past. He donated to all sorts of different political campaigns. He said, well, as a businessman, I had to. If you want access, you have to pay the money.
Which is illegal.
That's the political process. You pay the money, you get the access, right? So that was his excuse at the beginning of the campaign as to why he spread the money around to all these different political organizations. So go ahead, Sue. Sorry.
No, I hear people talking about how, well, I like him because he talks straight, but if he's elected, it's not just going to be King Donald. He's going to have to work with lots of people, and I just don't get why people don't understand that. Maybe people are just fed up with the way government hasn't been running, and they think that Donald can just go in there and tell them what to do, and they'll do it.
Yeah. Well, Sue, thanks for the call, kiddo.
Yeah, you bet.
Always a
Bye-bye.
pleasure. By the way, I'll see you.
Happy anniversary,
Oh,
Peter.
thank you. And I will see you there at 5-ish down by the X's, okay?
Awesome.
Okay,
Yep,
got to get an
March.
interview. Okay, thanks.
Okay,
bye.
bye-bye.
All right, Catherine's on the line. Hi, Catherine.
Morning.
What's up?
Okay, well, a couple of things. One is the First Amendment issue that I wish to address here.
Right
that
ahead.
Donald Trump, okay. In 1964, there was a court case, New York Times versus Sullivan. The end result of that court case was that the shielding laws for the media against being sued for libel or defamation were increased quite drastically, so that the propensity for the media to actually shade the truth or in some cases outright lie and not check their facts was shielded from being prosecuted, which is, I believe, what Trump is talking about looking at. Okay? Number two, second thing, I have this written down. I write my stuff down, as you know. Regarding the bankruptcies that you mentioned a little earlier, those are Chapter 11s. Donald Trump has, I believe, over 100 companies under his brand, under the Trump brand.
Mm-hmm.
And so 4 of them did get into some financial trouble. They went through Chapter 11, which is a way of reorganizing debts and assets so that the companies can continue to function and the employees can get paid.
Sure.
It's a very common thing for corporations to go through. I just wanted to point that out, that he has not had any sort of personal bankruptcy.
Okay.
Okay? Just because I think it's important to make sure that people understand exactly what happened and not, go, when you throw around the term bankruptcy, people think, oh, well, he lost everything and then people lost their jobs, and that is not the case.
Okay. Well, the way I used it was that even though you have a business failure, you keep on trucking, you build it back up again, and you become a success.
Okay.
See what I mean? So that
All right,
like Trump Mortgage or Trump Vodka or Trump Airlines or Trump Magazine or all these other successful Trump enterprises that are with us today.
Sorry, Catherine, go ahead.
Don, I know you think the guy's evil, and that word bothers me because I know that you hate the guy with, like rat poison on a cracker. Right?
I hate his ideas. Yeah,
rat poison on a cracker.
I think he stands for really bad ideas.
Well, or he may have really good ideas. You don't
tell me
know.
one.
Okay, what I'm going to say is this: what he has done so far is he's basically ripped the scab off, and all the pus is coming out. All right. So he's done a big reveal. He's pulled back the curtain. So you see where a lot of the corruption and I believe Washington, D.C. is so corrupt that, they should all be swept out to sea. And, well, I won't go any farther with that.
Sure.
But, because it's a uniparty. There is no Republican Party. There is no loyal opposition. There is no Democrat Party. They're all in the pockets of everybody else. They're all incestuously connected. And I think that he's ripped the curtains back and allowed that to be seen. I think that is the primary thing that he has done.
I think that there's a point that you have here. I think you're right. He does rip apart the system. But to keep with your metaphor, Trump is not antiseptic. He's the turd that corrupts the system.
Oh, geez. I do not agree with that. What I want to see is I want to see the destruction of both parties. That's really what I want to see.
Exactly. You're an anarchist on this.
Yeah,
you're gleefully going down to Valhalla here. I don't want to go with you.
I'm a daughter of Odin. Okay.
All right, we're up against a break, Catherine. As always, this is great. We'll be right back. Stay with us, Karen and Kevin. You guys are up in a moment. Rat poison on a cracker. I'll have to make a T-shirt out of that. The stuff you guys miss during the breaks. All right, 721-1290. All three lines are hum. I want to get as many calls in as we can in the 6.5 minutes we have left. So, Karen, you have been waiting the longest. Hi, what's up?
Hi, good morning. Yes, first off, Catherine made a lot of good points. Secondly, David Duke did not endorse Donald Trump. So there is a YouTube video that he put out saying that he never endorsed him. So that whole thing is a big, fat lie. It was a setup from the beginning.
So we played this clip of David Duke yesterday. He
Yeah,
says, hold on. He says, this is not an endorsement, but I want everyone out there to go vote for Donald Trump and support Donald Trump and work in his campaign. You'll find people that agree with you. I mean, these are David Duke's words. What is an endorsement? What is an endorsement other than a support of someone's campaign? That's what an endorsement is. He's double speaking here.
Well, John, you know what? You just was obvious, like Catherine said, you hate him. It's very offensive to me as a listener, especially when he first came out and he talked about stopping Muslim immigration until we knew what was going on. You did not even mention that last part in that show that you had on. I was so mad I couldn't call because I was on my way to work, but that was so disingenuous of you. I mean,
sorry,
basically,
what?
Now, could you flesh?
That we should stop Muslim immigration until we know what's going on. Your whole show was just about we should stop Muslim immigration. You never mentioned the last part. I mean, I think he's got a point. I mean, we should stop Muslim immigration until we know what's going on. These people are our sworn enemies. They want to kill us. They're cutting people's heads off, and everybody wants to just let everybody in willy-nilly. It's like our immigration problem is terrible. I mean, people are coming in from Mexico and everywhere else. So, I mean, he's got a good immigration plan. Go on his website. He lists all his policy papers. I mean, he doesn't talk about all the details at his rallies because he has them on his website. I mean, he only has so much time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't see anybody else giving any details.
You
and
haven't?
so the other thing is Ted Cruz needs to show his consulate report of birth abroad. I mean, the man claims he's an American citizen.
Do you think it's weird that Donald Trump doesn't use his real last name?
Sorry?
Do you think it's weird that the Trump family doesn't use their real last name?
Who, the Trump?
Yeah, their real last name is Drumpf. It's German.
People got changed when they became to America. I mean,
Don't you think it'd be more true to his
immigration.
heritage to call himself Drumpf?
I don't know anything about that. That's the first I heard of it.
All right. You know what? We got to get some more calls in. Thanks so much. Kevin, you are on Talkback. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, as a pastor, I want to look at Trump from a different angle.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can somebody tell me a moment of humility that Donald Trump has had? I have a hard time finding it.
We haven't seen very many either. That's for sure. So.
No, and during the debate, right after Justice Scalia passed away, when they had a moment of silence, as far as I can tell, Donald Trump was the only one that did not have his head at least bowed a little bit. He had his head high in the air. Now, I'm just going to speak and let God speak to a couple verses here. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. The wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. Thank you very much, and have a good day, Peter. Bye.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate the call. All right, there you go. 721-1290. We got 3 minutes before we're done. Tom, good morning. You're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Trump has donated to so many Democrats in order to get things done, and he claims that's for business. I call it corruption. If you're claiming you're a Republican and you're conservative, he certainly hasn't shown it. To me, the man has shown that he's the problem. He talks about the other fellas that are running and that the lobbyists own them. I think he is a lobbyist without the license because of his donations to so many corrupt politicians.
All right, Tom, thanks for the call. Appreciate that. Leroy, we got about 2 minutes. Go.
Hey, thanks. I can keep it under 2 minutes. Leroy here, retired Air Force fighter pilot, 22-year veteran.
Thanks for your service, sir.
Yeah, no problem. I love a good fight, and I'll tell you what, I'll just make a quick prediction. Donald Trump is going to take the nomination, and he's also the only one that can beat Hillary Clinton. And let me tell you this, he's an underdog, and he's a political underdog, and that's why he's so successful in America, because people don't like any of the politicians, either side. I think he's the only one that's going to beat Hillary. I'll call you back when it happens. But
hey, let me ask you this, because I think that he is the least likely to beat Hillary, judging from evidence.
We'll find out. He was supposed to be a sizzle in the pan, and it only lasted through August, but he's sure proving that wrong as well.
I think you're right on that.
I used to like all the other candidates, but as they go on to these petty things, I realize they're just the typical politicians that all of us are starting to hate in the country. And I think I look at leadership, and I look at a person that can actually negotiate, and he's the only one that's really demonstrated leadership over time. We're all imperfect. That's true, but we'll see if my prediction comes true, boys.
You don't think Trump goes after petty things?
Oh, everybody does a little bit, but I think he speaks
You don't think
for
Trump does it a lot?
a lot of us out here, the feelings that we're having. I know that you, John, and Megyn Kelly are really in love with Trump, and so the more people run him down, the more popular he gets.
All right.
And Peter, you're not you so much to an extent, but I think the more this happens, we're fed up with the press. We're fed up with TV and radios knocking everybody down, but that's why he's a political underdog, and he's going to succeed.
All right, Leroy, thanks for the call, man.
You betcha. See ya.
Always a pleasure. Call us again. By the way, we've had a lot of first-time callers today, and I just want to say thank you to all of you. Obviously, something moved you to call us, and we love that. So that's what this show is all about.
Absolutely. It's great. We love talking to you. We love having the freedom to talk about issues and not be sued about it. I hope that continues.
All right, what's coming up on tomorrow's fabulous radio program?
Tomorrow, we'll be speaking with Walt Caro.
Yes!
I'm not sure we're going to talk about taxes. Maybe Trump will come up again. His taxes are an issue. 721-1290 is our number, and we hope to hear from you tomorrow, too.
And there's a march at 5 o'clock, starts at the X's, goes to Karas Park, and we'll get some coverage on that.